LOL. Lamau even. It's Orange Monday, and you know what that means. That means that it's Orange Monday. The 2025 analog to Black Monday in fucking 1929. Uh, I don't know if any bankers have jumped off of the buildings yet, if they've, leapt to their demise. But, in a shocking twist of fate, the yeah, fucking the moon from Majora's Mask is coming. In a shocking twist of fate, the tariffs produce only the exact effect that literally everybody said that the tariffs were going to produce. Like, you could ask any fucking economist or halfway like knowledgeable person, like, yeah, what are the consequences of the United States fucking alienating all of its allies and trade partners with global tariffs? They like, I don't know, fucking everything would get worse everywhere, and they would be right. Also, a couple things regarding the stream itself. Yeah, get your fell for it again stickers. I should really make that an emote. The fell for it thing. Yeah, the stock market isn't open on the weekends, so the last day that we have data from is Friday. What day is it? Friday, April 4th was the last day that the stock market was open. And it there's a fucking vertical line downwards to where it opened today on Monday. And there was like, for brief periods, there have been like business people and investors huffing insane amounts of copium, which has made there be like a spike. But that spike has since peaked and it's now on it's resuming a downward trajectory. Glory to the Maoist Trump administration for delivering on the decline of American empire, I guess. Oh yeah, in literally like, let me see. I have CNBC open for this. CNBC shit ass news site, absolute garbage, but they do monitor stocks and the stock market very closely and stuff. We are at all the fucking progress that happened over the past 4 years is gone instantly. I'm looking at it's the stock market is about where it was in November of 2020. Oh my god. Or also people, once they eventually realize they're wrong, they have a mental breakdown. And hot take, I think they deserve that mental breakdown for the magnitude of the shitstorm they have contributed to getting us in. But mental breakdowns are temporary, so, that's not going to last forever. There's a whole ass media apparatus that was dedicated to feeding people some bullshit about like, yeah, Trump is going to make everything cheaper. Literally 2 months into the administration, it's good that everything is much more expensive, actually. The rhetoric shifted so fucking fast. It's like unreal. I'll check for updates. Regarding the stream itself, a couple things I want to mention. You may notice the chat on the side looks a little bit different. Cyberpunk in real life? No, real life will be not quite like Cyberpunk. Yeah, no. Cyberpunk literally operates on a fantastical logic that the state of the world is this immovable thing. In Cyberpunk, there's like an underwritten assumption that like this is just how things are now, and there's no possibility of that changing. When I assure you, every time in history that things have been dire enough for you to in any way compare it to Cyberpunk, that's when revolution is basically around the corner historically. Every story, every story ever that isn't written by a leftist. Yeah. Um, Yeah, no, I think at this point, as crass as it may sound, what we need is for them to keep following through and keep destroying the American economy. And I can explain why I say that. Are people going to suffer? Yeah, and that's gonna fucking suck. But think about the consequences of what happens if they like only go 90% of the way there. If they only go 90%, right? People are still gonna suffer, like markets will crash, etc., etc. But if eventually they're like, all right, fine, and they pump the brakes a little bit, then things will stabilize at a new horrendous equilibrium, a new horrendous status quo, and we never get a proper economic recovery from this. You know, we never get another FDR, we never get another like Huey Long or whoever the fuck, right? And basically a lot of the changes that the Trump administration did, a lot of the tariffs, a lot of the like fucking a lot of the worst consequences of this economic crash out are going to remain permanent if they don't fully commit to the bit, which I don't think they're smart enough to just not commit to the bit. And I think what they will do, what we hope that they do, is they commit to the bit so hard that it destroys America in a way that we haven't seen since the Great Depression, in a way that can't easily be stabilized by, say, I don't know, some moderate Republicans or the Democrats in their current state. We need the situation to get so bad that an FDR-esque figure will rise to meet the moment, and the Democrats and Republicans both will be inept to stop them. Right? We need this to get so bad that no semblance, like, there can't even be a semblance of stabilization possible from milquetoast Democrat or Republican leadership. That is the only way out of this, is through it, for the most part. It's too late to pump the brakes now, right? All of the trade relationships, all the alliances with other countries, all like America's world standing, that's gone. You can't rebuild that. Like, if they pump the brakes now, all that damage is permanent. NATO is no more. America's trade relationships in North America and Europe alike are no more. America's alliances are no more, outside of NATO as well. Like, that's all done. The door is closed on that shit already. We need them to keep going and keep fucking, like, destroying things in a way that makes people hate them and hate the any political forces that are, like, passively sort of putting up with that, or see some sort of I don't know, redeemability in the system or whatever the fuck. Does that make sense? Yeah, we need things to get so bad that it has an activating effect on people. We need people to get mad and get politically active in the face of this situation. And the last thing we want is for the administration, the government, and politicians and whatever to pump the brakes in a way that pacifies people. Because it's possible, we know this from other historical moments, it is possible to halt a societal decline just enough for a period of time for things to continue getting worse at a steady pace, and for people to be pacified because things are more or less stable again. That's what happened in the, like, you know, the huge drop-off wasn't exactly there before this point, but neoliberalism was basically this as an ideology. Neoliberalism was the slow decline. We don't want to go back to that slow decline. Now that we're on the, like, really steep slope of decline, we want that to continue basically until you hit rock bottom, because then that's when you can actually get some semblance of a bounce back, because people are mad enough to be activated, and they are distrustful enough of the institutions that led them there to begin with, that if, you know, an FDR-esque politician comes around and is like, you know what, fuck all these capitalists, fuck capitalism as a concept, you know, I'm gonna go even further than FDR, we can't live with this system anymore because it's gonna lead us back here every single time. We need people to be in a place where they're receptive to that sort of messaging, where they're like, you know what, maybe they've got a point. You know, if we do, like, the same shit over and over again, we're just gonna wind up at rock bottom again. We need to actually substantively address the underlying issues of, like, wealth accumulation and whatever. People are already getting mad at town halls. Ignore all the bloody parts of the plan. Look, there are a lot of very bloody parts of this. What I'm saying is that either route we take is going to involve a lot of suffering, a lot of death, a lot of whatever, right? There's only one route that leads to that eventually stopping, and there's another route that leads to a comparable amount of death and bloodshed and suffering that eventually levels off it at a like abjectly horrible state of existence that will continue sowing death and suffering and inequality and shit. You know, neither road out of this is pretty. This is the part where the superhero would say there's no better way. Trust me, bro. I mean, look, I could say like, you know, oh, we should simply do a socialist revolution now, and that would be a better, like, the sooner the revolution happens, the better. But the conditions aren't like, you have to make absolutely certain. We have to have the actual conditions for that to happen. Like I said, the last thing you want is for things to get worse, and then for them to pump the brakes on things getting worse so that they stay bad forever. They have to be bad enough for people to activate. And you're right in that right now people are getting like mad at town halls and shit. That means we're going in the right direction, the direction of discontent. What we don't want is for the worsening of conditions to have a pacifying effect, is what I'm saying. The conditions will worsen either way. What we want is for people to get mad at the worsening conditions and for them to be like, you know what, fuck this. I want my life back. I want to get out of this mess. You know, and in that respect, we want the Trump administration to like basically keep fucking things up in a way that makes them look horrible, because they're incompetent. You've seen the way they act in the interviews. They're incapable of selling this to the American people because this benefits like 5 dudes. You know, there's only like 5 oligarchs that are wealthy enough to get any sort of benefit out of this like scale of stock market crash. You know? How's this going to happen automatically, it seems like? One question, like, how are people supposed to retire? And then he stared at the camera. Yeah, that's the tier of engagement that the Trump administration exists on right now. Is they'll be asked, like, well, what about people's retirement savings? And they just kind of... You know? For like a minute. and it's just like... It's just like they're kind of, like... they're spiteful of, like, having to answer questions as a fucking concept, it seems like, you know? Yeah, if it was a movie, it'd be playing some, like, fucking ominous music or some shit. It's like, the music that happens right before the character goes insane and just completely crashes out or some shit. Yeah, it's like, I'm just here to get paid. Don't ask me these questions. We both know the answer. We both know I'm getting paid to lie here, right? Like, that's the kind of tone being struck by the Trump admin. And the more they strike that tone, the more incompetent they are, the more people get mad at that. That's what I'm saying. You know, sometimes it may sound like I'm saying, oh, trust me, bro, there's no better way. But would you rather they be evil and incompetent? Or would you rather they be competent at being evil? I would frankly rather they be incompetent so that people are more quickly radicalized against them. Because the evil people are in power either way, and they are doing all sorts of shit to try to strip away whatever is left of any sort of democratic institutions that we may have had in America, you know? I'd rather they not be good enough at that for it to actually work. That's what I'm saying. They need to do this in a way that makes it not work out well for them in the end. Because they're going to do it either way. They have the power to do this. And like, people should go out and protest and try to stop them from doing it. Because, like, at the moment, there's not a ton that people can do. But the more opposition people face, the more opposition the public faces from the government in, you know, communal attempts to do good things, the more they realize, oh shit, this government actually fucking sucks and is evil and just wants to, like, kill me and my whole family. And that's the bedrock of political change, is when people are like, oh, I want to do something good, and there's a extremely authoritarian government and a bunch of businesses and a bunch of oligarchs that want to stop me from doing it. I will do it anyway. Feels like one of those video games where you win by doing nothing. Yeah. Do nothing, win. And it's not like an automatic thing, right? The reason that they need to be really incompetent is precisely like the reason that we need the fascists to be extremely incompetent at doing what they do is because this is not an automatic process. We've seen that throughout the days of like neoliberalism, the excruciating 50 years of neoliberalism. Yeah, people are dumb enough that you have to like shove it in people's faces with no conceivable excuse or alternative explanation for them to be sold on that narrative. That's how the right wing gained power, because they understand like none of this is automatic. You know, they had to manufacture public opinion so hard, again, for like 50 years straight in order to get to this position. And there were a lot of points where they could have been stopped along the way, but, you know, we had a Democratic Party, a neoliberal bloc, that was under the delusion that this was an automatic process, and that public opinion was some immovable thing that you couldn't use media to manipulate. They believed that a dog can't, in fact, play basketball, as the Republicans, the dog, were dunking on a 10-foot hoop over and over and over again, showing them up, you know, 70-0 or whatever the fuck, you know? And the Democrats, yeah, you know, paid opposition shit. They just stuck with the line, what? A dog can't play basketball? And then, you know, they kept racking up them points, and now the dog is leading the Democrats something like 80-0. It's almost as if it was planned. I actually, this is going to be a crazy thing. I actually don't think that this was part of some grand plan starting 50 years ago. I think this was planned from the moment that, like, Trump started running for the 2020 and 2024 elections. This may have been planned a few years out, but this was definitely not planned a few decades out. You know? It's just an inevitable consequence of what was planned, which is tax cuts for the wealthy. Oh, we're pro-business. We want business people to be able to do business free of regulation. That was always part of the plan. You know, the privatization, that was planned for more than 50 years. The extent of this, like, the tariffs, the sending the economy into a crash on purpose in order to coalesce more on the other side of it, that wasn't planned. Some of it was just a massive, massive amount of coincidences, and then other parts of it were, in fact, planned. You know? Like the gradual erosion of democracy, that was actually one of the planned elements of this. The conservatives sunk a lot of political capital in the 70s, 80s, and 90s into capturing the Supreme Court for this exact purpose. Unitary executive theory, the fascism, the authoritarian control over government, that was planned. That was always part of the Republican playbook. They always wanted to capture the Supreme Court. They always wanted basically to neuter the other two branches of government, the legislative and the judiciary, so that the executive would have all the power. You know? Trump, I will destroy the economy, wins in a landslide. Yeah, and that's because they had a whole ass media machine manufacturing consent on top of fucking, you know, Trump being a charismatic figure that people wanted to project something onto. I don't know. Yeah, Project 2025 or Agenda 47 or whatever the fuck they want to call it now. Yeah, this was always in the playbook. And this was the fascism and tax cuts and privatization, that was part of the playbook before Project 2025 even. In fact, I think it's safe to say the tariffs and the negative consequences of the economic crash out that are occurring now are possibly the only two components of this that were in no way planned. You know? The rest of this, the like private prison industrial complex, the military industrial complex, the fucking destruction of welfare and Meals on Wheels and whatever. Even if they didn't intend for the cuts to those agencies to be this bad, that was planned. That was part of the plan. You can look back at the Republican, agenda 50 years ago, 40 years ago, and it's got some of the same shit in there. They want to get rid of these public agencies. In fact, I think one of them, by name, the getting rid of the Department of Education was always part of the Republican playbook ever since they created the Department of Education at the federal level. There has never been a Republican administration or Republican Congress that didn't want to get rid of the Department of Education, which is why they've been like pro-school vouchers and shit the whole time. The difference is that back in the day, they were much more sheepish about trying to amass the political capital to directly, like, sign an order or a law or whatever that was like, okay, no more Department of Ed, you know? Because they recognize, like, this is such a just unambiguously good thing that it would look really bad for us if we just tried to unilaterally get rid of it, you know? Sith Lords from Star Wars, power and stupidity. That's kind of true, yeah. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, but the unspoken part of that is it also makes you fucking stupid. it makes you pretty dumb. Anyways. Yeah, like, what if we built a giant laser that could destroy an entire planet? I see no potential negative political consequences from this. There definitely won't be a public outcry about how we are literally developing a weapon of mass destruction specifically engineered to use on our own citizenry. You know? Clueless. Also, for the purposes of the live stream, you may notice on the left side there, the chat now fades out. That's something that I've been meaning to do for a little while. I removed the timer and I put a limiter on my microphone so that anything louder than -4, I think, which doesn't sound like much, but like that's in the red, will sort of like, I don't know, get cut off or whatever. Well, you know. Oh shit, I actually made it over that. It's kind of crazy. Watch the Devil May Cry Netflix show. There's a Netflix show? That's crazy. Featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series. Many are saying this. No, my mushrooms. Oh well. On the last episode, America does imperialism to hell. That's actually really funny. And also fucked up. What'd those demons do to you, man? That was I think that's how you're supposed to go off of that ramp. Either that or you're supposed to, like, use a mushroom on the ramp in order to much more easily go off of the, like, over the fence. They're also civilians. They're trying to live day by day in hell. It's a different dimension, not literally hell. Yeah, I gotcha. It's like, they don't try to come up with some lame excuse like, oh, well, they're all demons that delight in torturing people or whatever. That, like, they don't go the lazy route of saying, but it's fine, actually. They do the thing where it's like, yeah, this is less like the eternal torment and damnation hell and more like just another dimension where people are living their lives doing whatever, you know. And then America decided, you know what, you are in need of liberation, by which we mean we want your oil, actually. Or something like that. The spice must flow through hell. It's a dictator called Juanes they're trying to escape from. And let me guess, Americans are like, We will overthrow the dictator, and then they're like, haha, managed democracy, smiley face. And by managed democracy, we mean you now have a president that mostly answers to our government and national interests. It's what we did in Iraq. And a lot of other countries, actually. You just gun down any civilian they see in the dimension? Oh, okay. Yeah, we're clearly the Americans in that show are learning from Israel. Run down children with tanks. Like I said, learning from Israel, it seems. Kidnap turned into an ice cube? What the fuck? Damn. Whoa! Okay, I'm still alive, apparently. I thought for sure I was gonna get bumped off by that. I did get bumped off by that. Brother. Okay. One of the bad guys was a super Christian vice president. Remind you of anyone? Vice President Mike Pence, perhaps. Or Vice President J.D. Vance, even. It's like, God won't let me die? That's fucked up. We just need to get that guy a Wall Street portfolio and then subject him to the worst economic crash anybody's ever seen in our lifetime. And then he will he will figure out a way to die. I'm quite sure of it. You know, there's nothing that can't be done. Basically saying he has plot armor. Oh, and he's proud of it. Oh, okay. My point still stands, though. I would like to get him hooked on, you know, investing in stock, in parentheses, gambling, and then show him, like, oh, by the way, all of your apes are gone because of, like, the funny orange man said, haha, what if I severed all of our trade relationships and alliances with every country that we were ever friends with? Haha, just kidding, unless... You know? I'm going wide. Yeah. President in the show is a cowboy. Ah. Oh, shit. Damn. He doesn't have a green shell, okay. Oh, he did get the best item in the game, though? That's crazy. Oh, they hit a banana. I can't believe I got through all that. Media blames the Russians. Classic. El Clásico. Let me open. I don't even have my text document list open. And somehow it got unpinned from the taskbar? Hello? I don't know why that happened. Get that out of here. There we go. Okay. Give me dry ruins, please. Let me see if there are any. Oh, I was just gonna say, let me see if there's any news about the tariffs. First thing I see from USA Today. This is today, updated 1:26 p.m., literally 30 minutes ago. Trump threatens China with additional 50% tariff as markets struggle. Live updates. He really fucking turned into Billy Mays and said, "But I'm not done yet." Shit is crazy, dude. I thought for sure I was going off that ramp. What? I just bounced off it? What the hell is that? Damn. What is this track? I swear I was not riding that high on the line there. I'm using this up here. This is probably a good place to use it because this is kind of like off-road. Yeah, okay, it sends me the slower of the two routes, but that's fine, I think. So, I guess that actually shows us where the Trump administration stands on this, you know? Like, and that's important information. Remember, the last two times they did tariffs like this, some of the tariffs stayed in place, and then others were, like, partially rescinded, you know? And stuff like that. But no, this time, it really seems like the Trump administration is committing to the bit. They're like, yeah, no, we're gonna, not only are we keeping these tariffs in place, we're actually going to charge additional tariffs on top of the ones that we've got already. And, you know, we've seen already the reaction of the economy to the first couple rounds of tariffs. Who can but imagine what the reaction to the next fucking 50% tariff on China, which, again, I remind people was our biggest trading partner. Imagine what that'll do, huh? That somehow worked out. I didn't mean to use my mushroom there. I thought I was going to use the banana, but... Okay. Oh my god, another... that was another fucking photo finish. Republicans like the economy isn't dying fast enough. So true. You know what? Fuck it. See, this is what I mean. I want them to keep doing this shit because it's like... Everybody's like, oh my god, why would you do this? And Trump's like, you know what? I'll fucking do it again. And everybody's like getting progressively more and more angry. Fuck yeah. Look, we're gonna be suffering either way. I'd rather we be suffering with enough mass discontent to potentially manufacture a fucking exit from this shit. You know? Jesus, so... Yeah. Look at this entire section. Is there any chance the tariffs can be postponed or negotiated? Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick told CBS over the weekend the tariffs would not be postponed. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said in an NBC interview that 50 countries have approached the administration for negotiation. That's a lie, they haven't. But warned these could take time. And he also said he didn't believe tariffs would lead to a recession. So they're lying and then occasionally showing like, nah, we're not going to postpone these. This video should be called People Are Coping. Yeah, the fucking business like weirdos are coping pretty hard right now. Everybody else, I assume, is trying to figure out how to make rent and how much rice and beans to stock up on. That guy tried to hit me again. You finished Invincible? Yes, I have, as a matter of fact. Finished it just a couple of days ago. Good show. Good show, I think. Ow. I think I'm gonna try to chain these at the next item set. Ow. Or, you know, that could happen. Get out of here. What's your opinion on Powerplex? Unhinged. Needs professional help. Also, main character syndrome. He makes it all about him, despite the fact that he's, like, saying, oh yeah, Invincible is responsible for all these deaths, which partially is true. It very conveniently ignores the bigger picture that, you know, his dad was using him as a fucking mace, basically. Powerplex is what liberals think the far left are. No, I don't think that's actually true. I don't necessarily think that's true. If anything, I feel like that caricature would be closer to Doc Seismic. You know? Yeah. Yeah. Conquest, perfect image of a Republican. Yeah, he's, well, Conquest, that actually goes even beyond fascism. That's what, like, Conquest is the end result of what fascist ideology does to people. It fucking turns you into, like, inhuman, like, murder machine. Not in the way that, like, Nazis imagine themselves to be, but just the fact that you're a completely unhinged loser with no friends who, like, wants to cry all the time and literally is so poorly socialized and so thoroughly isolated that the only thing that you can even conceive of doing is take it out on, like, everybody else. Conquest, it, like, the Viltrum Empire is fascism as an institutionalized ideology. Conquest is the end result of that ideology, as it is reflected on, like, the like, picturesque adherents of fascism, you know? Insecure young men who then go on to become insecure old men who do nothing but fucking destroy themselves and everybody around them. That shit ain't good. Need an item here. There we go. That's good. Best item? Hell yeah. I said I needed an item and the game fucking delivered. I like how they show you he's not having a happy life. Yeah. The man is like... It is literally like he can only feel anything really when he's killing other people, and especially when he's fighting against someone that actually fights back. I think what he relishes there, what Conquest relishes, is somebody who has enough, like... Oh, shit. Never seen that happen before. I think what Conquest is after, like, what he's seeking, first of all, is a friend. He literally, bro just wants to be friends with Invincible, and has the most unhinged, like, possible view of how that shit actually works. But then also, I think he's, like, looking for somebody who values life enough that they can actually fight back when he tries to kill them. Because he's like, shit, I want that. You know, I want to have a life that's worth it enough that I've, like, actually, you know, care to live and shit. Victim of my own success. Yeah, he loses to his own insecurity is the thing. Like, when he says that speech, serial killer-ass speech, by the way, incredibly well written, when he talks about, like, being lonely and like, how he's like, man, it sucks none of them want to be my friend. I don't have any friends. I don't even have a real name. I believe him. Like, I don't think in that moment he has not established himself to be any sort of like dishonest as a character. Does that make sense? Like, he's a lot of things, and I don't think liar is one of those things. Yeah, he and the reason he says that in the moment is because, like, finally, a way for me to, like, get this off my chest, and I could just kill this guy so he's not going to go tell anybody else. And then I could just tell that to the next person I'm going to kill. You know? That's what's going on in his head. So that speech was genuine. He thought he was, like, gonna kill Mark, and then he actually has a rehearsed fucking villain monologue that isn't, like, the whole, haha, I've won, fuck you. It's actually like, shit, man, I'm lonely. Anyway, die. What's your opinion on Oliver? He's a kid. I think they wrote him pretty well as, like, a kid character, especially, like, the fact that he, like, literally doesn't understand why killing people is wrong. That was, like, a part of the show that I was really invested in, is when like, Invincible's literally trying to teach Oliver why it's wrong to kill people, you know? And then Oliver's like, bro, we should just kill all of them or something. Why is killing people so bad? Like, you can see him turning into Omni-Man and shit. So, you know, I don't know. I think he's just, like, a kid, and you know, I hope he doesn't fucking, I mean, I think I know from the comics he doesn't actually turn into, like, Omni-Man or whatever the fuck. Like, he doesn't, like, legitimately start not giving two shits about, like, people's lives and whatever, but, you know. Thought he was gonna join Cecil. I didn't really think so, because he, like, because of the relationship between Cecil and Mark's family and whatnot. Oh, first place. How about that? And I win, I think. I was at the Invisible as a lot cliffhanger at the end of the season, even if they don't show up in the next season. Yeah. Oh, okay. The cliffhanger for this season was, like, a gut punch, I think. Or not, like, emotionally speaking, but it was, like, spoilers, by the way, where that you find out that, like, Conquest is only mostly almost dead, but then, like, Cecil just hid him underground or some shit. It's like, bro, fucking come on. They're not, like, they don't happen in the comics. I'm okay with that, because I've read some of the comics, not all of them, but some of them, and I genuinely do think that the show is better. Ooh, Meadows. Who the fuck's picking these goofy ass tracks? Yeah, those are my thoughts on Invincible, I think. I actually think that Invincible is a really important piece of media right now because it's still like, even though in some ways this could lead to it being kind of liberalism coded, I think that like it doesn't like try to, at least not consciously, I don't think it tries to make all too many excuses for the fucking for a fucking liberal world order, you know, up front or whatever. I think any of that shit mostly probably happens by accident. And like, I think it just has like a view of the world that like, you know what, actually better things are possible sometimes. Despite the fact that like every 5 seconds, somebody's coming to Earth and like destroying major cities and whatever. You know, life is worth, like, you could get the entire ass kitchen sink like thrown at you, and life is worth living anyway. And that's why, like, that's why we feel bad when like all this terrible shit happens, because there's a natural assumption that like, well, obviously you're gonna live to deal with the consequences and shit like that, right? More left as they got older. Economically, society should collapse with that much damage. Yeah, it did actually leave me wondering, because there was that episode where, what was it, the Invincible War or something? Again, spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it. Like, several major cities got destroyed. New York, Chicago, Moscow, like, fucking LA, wherever the fuck, Paris. You know, major economic nerve centers got destroyed, and I actually did catch myself wondering, like, fuck, what are the economic consequences of this, dude? You know, like, is this just gonna be, like, an economic crash all on its own? A lot of shit happens in those cities. And yeah, I could kind of feel I could kind of feel the show writer being, probably left of liberal, because I felt uneasy when Invincible did that like brief stint as being like a prison guard or whatever. The fact that that felt kind of scummy or whatever, it felt kind of intentional. It's just a copy of the future of real life. Yeah, like, he was literally wearing a police outfit. Yeah, the black and blue. Yeah, that made me feel uneasy when he was at the prison. I do like the black and blue outfit aesthetically looks good, and shit like that. But yeah. OBS telling me that chat disconnected for a second. Rockman did nothing wrong. True. That's one of the biggest things. I kind of forgot that until you just brought it up, but yeah, that was sitting in my mind somewhere. That's one of the biggest things that sells me that, like, Invincible isn't just garden variety liberal superhero media, because that, like, this guy is literally like an organized crime gang boss leader or whatever, you know, and you know, he's got superpowers and whatnot. Very, very much like how you know, you see some characters from the criminal underworld of the Batman series of comics, you know. But I think they handle it by they handle it really well by making him a very sympathetic character, and in fact by making Mark wrong sometimes in the show. You know, when he has that argument with Cecil, like, legitimately, when he has that argument, Cecil can be a lying bastard, but in that instance, he's right about rehabilitative justice and reform. And then when Invincible confronts that guy again, and he points around and is like, look, the last guy in my position didn't give two shits about the community, but I care. What I've been doing is I've been, like, directing money into all these underfunded public services, and that's how you know that the person that wrote that show is probably not a liberal. And I appreciate that, because, like, you know, the temptation would just be to say, oh yeah, you know, organized crime is bad, you know, the mob boss, they extort people and whatnot, which of course the mob does, right? But, like, the really important part of what's his face, I forget his name, I keep wanting to say Tombstone, but I think that's a DC character. Is that it's possible to exercise what power you have, even if it's power in like a really weird kind of a, in a really weird sort of underworld kind of sense. It is possible to use that to improve the foundation of society. Like if you have power, that means you have control over resources, and if you know where to direct those resources, you can make things a lot better. And I think the show displayed that pretty well. Honestly, don't know why Invincible hated him. Well, the reason that Invincible hated him is because he lied to him in the first season. In the first season where they teamed up to take on Machine Head and whatnot. And Invincible, it's highlighted the fact that Invincible doesn't have like hardly any formal education beyond high school, so he might not have a particularly active and flourishing sociological imagination, you know? He might not actually understand what this guy is doing. And of course, you know, obviously it doesn't help that he was lied to and stuff like that. That's probably why Invincible doesn't like him, is he doesn't trust him. Random bodyguards teleport. I'm probably not gonna remember random, like, more specific moments of the show, but I'll remember, like, some of the bigger points, the bigger plot points. And I think that was one that I really liked, was the show arc where they were dealing with the other parts of the mob that didn't care as much about like investing in the communities where they were embedded, and were more interested just in the wielding power aspect of it. In this sense, you could probably argue that this is just on the better end of liberalism. But it's very much like a parallel to the state and private enterprise, right? Where the essential components of the state are just like that which is capable of enacting great violence on people, right? You can take away everything else, and if you still have the parts of the state that are capable of locking people up, shooting people in the back of the head, and, you know, brutalizing people, you have a state, you know? But you could also go to the other end of liberalism, the cool end, where you start to approach better things are possible territory. You could be FDR or, you know, this guy, whoever. Again, I forget his name, and be like, you know what if I actually spent money to invest in these public services? Like, just gave the public sector a shit ton of money and, like, built up the community and shit. You know? Giant L on Invincible's part for making a monarchy in the future. Well, like they said in the show, the Invincibles from different dimensions are not like the same people, right? So it's possible that might not be an L on this Invincible's behalf, you know? Some people still hate Amber to this day. Yeah, and, well, she does have kind of a, like, annoying character in season 1, but people just love to hate on women particularly. It's a combination of the fact that Amber was kind of written to be disagreeable in certain ways, which, you know, part of that is intended, and then another part is just because she's a woman, and a black woman at that, and a lot of people fucking hate minorities and women in media, and they, like, just itching to find an excuse to, you know? Those I think are the people that still hate Amber, are the people that just really fucking hate women, you know? Blue shell? I'm getting fucked up. Damn. I tried to take the inside line to avoid the bananas, but it didn't work out. That also didn't work out. Ow. I'm just getting... Opinion on the Alan the Alien section? Oh, I loved it. It was incredible. Huge fan of Alan the Alien. Even though some people have said that, like, the writing for him can be a bit Marvel-y at points. Like, very quippy in a way that some people find reminiscent of the MCU or whatever. And I see that. I think the fact of the matter is, it's Seth Rogen. That, like, he kind of does that. And he's been doing this kind of, like, comedic acting for a very long time. So he's probably way fucking better at it than, like, anything you would see quip-wise in, like, any Marvel Comics sort of setting. And he also does just feel like a quotidian sort of, like, working guy who was, like, beefed up into, like, now he's in this in a position where he can actually challenge some of the strongest beings in the universe. And I think it's really nice that they made him, in addition to being very joking and you know, a Joker kind of character, he's very genuine. He's not, like, overly sarcastic or anything. Like, he really, you can feel him really wanting to help Nolan, you know, Omni-Man, wanting to get him out of there, wanting to go see his son, go see, like, Mark again and stuff like that, you know? I really like Alan the Alien. I like that section. And I thought it was nice that Omni-Man, his heart grew 3 sizes that day, you know, because he cares about Alan the Alien, presumably because he's, you know, I mean, obviously as a Viltrumite, he sees value and strength and whatever, but also because he's a friend of Mark's, you know. Meant to build on his personality. Yeah. I think some of the shit he said was, like, really funny, though. Like, when he does a jailbreak, when he's doing that jailbreak, and he teams up with Battle Beast. He has hope. Yeah. Like, when he does that jailbreak with Battle Beast, and they find the Viltrumite execution room, he can be blunt and shit. Like, when he says, "Oh man, you look terrible," I think, like, you can... It's nice that, you know, you keep this character of being very, you know, it's Seth Rogen, right? But, like, he gives, he very much gives a shit about the state that Nolan is in. And I feel like it's a great way to indicate that, like, it's something that's genuinely foreign to, Nolan. It like, genuinely has a role in sort of changing his viewpoint on these things, because, like, he's probably never been shown this much, concern and like friendship from what would otherwise be like a perfect stranger, right? And then when Battlebeast's like, finally, long have I waited for, like, he's just so fucking extra with it, over the top about, like, meeting the Viltrumites, and then Alan's like, forgive him, he's a fan, he's been wanting to meet you guys. Big fan of that. The strongest femboy? That is true. Yes, I got the low trick. Oh, sorry, Tails. That sucks. No, I'm getting hit by every Tom, Dick, and Harry green shell that, like, gets thrown backwards from a million miles away. What the hell is happening here? No! Oh, come on! Well, I dodged the shock, but at what fucking cost, right? Just get me through here. Come on. It's probably a good place to use the bullet. Alright, I'm going for it. Content! Fuck. I should have committed to the bit. I think the landing just killed me there. I fucked up the landing. Could have gotten a better angle, but the fact that I bounced just did not help. Hate people that hate humanity and also attack anything hopeful. Yeah. Yeah, those people are really fucking unpleasant. I mean, like, the people who are basically the joyless caricature of the left that the right loves to try to paint the left to be. I don't hate those people per se, but, like, yeah, they're fucking annoying. It's like, damn, dog, you're not helping. Also, fuck you. Yeah. It's just spite. And I mean, like, critical support, spite being a powerful motivator and all that. Stop acting like... Yeah. It is kind of like a casual, like, just fucking stop, you know? They're stuck in the fucking South Park days when people were like, oh, you care about shit? That's cringe. Like, dog, you're not 13 anymore. Please stop. Sometimes caring about things in a particular way is cringe, but that's based, actually, when you care about something enough to be willing to just be cringe about it. The difference between The Boys and Invincibles fans. Fucking true, dude. Yeah, the Boys, I think, actually kind of... I don't know. I don't even know what to make of that show with where it is right now, apparently. What the fuck is this track? I'm really not racing well today. That was a good mushroom. I was not expecting that to be as good of a mushroom as it was. Still a very good mushroom. Okay, I was gonna say, don't tell me that's a shortcut, but no, thankfully it is not a shortcut. To the best of my knowledge. Probably gonna use this at right near the line again, like here. Yeah, that's a really good spot to use the mushroom. Can you imagine Invincible meeting Homelander in that conversation? What, what kind of conversation you mean? I keep mistiming that one trick. Imagine, though. That was kind of close. Third? I'll take third. On each other, what would they do? Homelander gets beaten up. I mean, Homelander would get beaten up, right? I mean, he'd probably surrender eventually because he's a giant pussy baby. Right? Like, Homelander is extremely insecure. He's, like, almost as insecure as fucking Conquest or somebody, but he's not as strong. Right? Oh, also, I just had occasion to look at my mic. The audio software that's or the OBS monitoring the microphone. Let me know if my voice like sounds weird or anything. I put a limiter on it so it doesn't go above a certain point. But yeah, I'm testing it to see how it sounds. Beginning talking point would be funny before they fight. Oh yeah. Like them meeting would be pretty damn goofy. Say Invincible knows how to take a punch. Yeah, he does. And he's only been getting stronger. Remember in season 1, he couldn't even, like... At the end of season 1, Invincible had just enough juice at his strongest to draw a little tiny bit of blood with a punch from Omni-Man, right? And then got his ass fucking... Like, yeah, could barely even hurt Omni-Man. Like, at his strongest, and then, like, got his ass handed to him for the rest of the fight. And then in Season 3, he's now strong enough to kill the strongest Viltrumite. Well, yeah, obviously he needed help, right? He needed help. He needed help to not die in the Omni-Man fight too, right? But like the difference is night and day. No, I didn't have enough room on the ramp before I had a feeling that might happen. I'm really not racing well today. Oh well, it's whatever. I can just get a good item and fucking win. Get stronger as they're older? I mean, yeah. So do humans. I also kind of chuckled at the point in the fight where Conquest was like, getting angrier doesn't make you stronger. That's not how it works, but that literally is how it works for humans. We have adrenaline. So that was a neat little reference, I think. Nice. Second place. Yeah, look at this fucking guy. He doesn't know about adrenaline. The words said right before Mark fucking bites out his shoulder tendon. Yeah, Invincible Season 3 was real nice. It was good, I think. Yeah, other news outlets are now reporting on this. Trump is threatening an additional 50% tariff on China. Who knows whether he'll actually do it with the track record of the Trump administration, but fucking sure, whatever. Why not, right? Like, you've gone this far. It would be, you gotta commit to the bit completely. Most unrealistic thing in superhero stories is the government lets them do whatever they want or doesn't find them out. Yeah, I think the GDA is at least partially an answer to that in Invincible. But yes, there's always the element, there's an underwriting element that like there's some level of hands off. It is ultimately a power fantasy because if there were super powered individuals in real life, the government would be fucking all over that shit. They'd be like leaning into nuclear proliferation. They'd be developing, like, you know, think about the Reanimen. Governments would be like constantly feverishly working to try to develop countermeasures to these people that are basically walking weapons of mass destruction, and like trying to in any way possible get them under control, and like, yeah, either bring them in their employ, put them to sleep or whatever, like keep it extremely fucking close side eye on them, and whatever they need to do. Oh, did they do that in Devil May Cry? Didn't know that. I dodged that, pal? That's insane. Only in the Netflix show? Yeah, I mean, I haven't played the games, right? We'll hate it because of power fantasy? That was an incredible shock. There wasn't even that much space for me to get target shocked off. Wow. And I would consider that to actually be a design strength of this track, that, like, if you get shocked midair, you're still probably fine. Damn. It happened to you 4 times. Oh, you've been counting? That's the 4th time? God damn. That's kind of crazy. Have you seen the market today? Yes, I have, bro the boss. Welcome back to chat. I was talking about it earlier. Yeah. Markets are shitting themselves as expected because, you know, that's kind of what happens when you sever every single trade relationship the U.S. has ever had. And then I saw just earlier fucking Trump just earlier threatened 50% more tariff, like another 50% tariff on China could potentially be coming if Trump is to be believed, which we know Trump's tax record, his track record with like saying or doing anything, particularly with respect to tariffs and whatnot. But like, yeah. The only thing that can make the economy worse than what fucking Conquest did is whatever the fuck Trump is doing right now. Yeah. Yeah, we don't need help from Viltrumites. We can destroy society all by ourselves. Smiley face. Brent was right on the money. He said there would be rumors Trump would stop the tariffs, which would raise the market, and then that rumor would be proven untrue and the market would crash even more. Yeah, and that is actually exactly what happened earlier today. I saw on, I think it was CNBC reported this, that like there was a brief bump in the stock market when people were like basically invented the copium of like, oh, maybe they'll push back the tariffs for 90 days, maybe. And then the administration was like, nah, we're not doing that. And then the market crashed out again. Imagine Marvel Comics does the thing with Spider-Man. Like, why didn't you stop the tariffs? That's so true. That reminds me of season 2 with like Anissa, season 2 of Invincible. She's like, damn, your planet's getting fucked, dude. Your governments suck. Your companies suck. All the resources are being plundered. Invincible's like, yeah, I know, it sucks. And she's like, so you're failing. And Mark can't really come up with a good response to that. But in the moment, I'm kind of like, you're being dishonest. Like, that's not how this works. Mark's just like, he's a superhero, yeah. But his superpower is like, wow, I'm strong enough to lift really big things. And I can fly really fast. That's not the same kind of thing as like, how do you fucking address the world being systemically exploited for all it's worth and then some, right? Yeah, like she's like, why is the physically strongest guy in the world not controlling the planet currently? Like, obviously, if we had a strongman dictator, literal strongman, you know, Invincible, Viltrumite, whatever, then obviously all of the fucking, you know, the climate change will stop or something. Little Dark Age edit. Doy. Post that shit on TikTok or whatever, and then like, but no, that's not how it works. I'm just out of it today. Look, I'm gonna pull all the Johns I need to. It's raining, you know. Dog ate my controller. Fucking, you know, overslept. Something. I don't know why I'm driving so shit today. We just do liberalism. Funny enough. Yeah, I mean, Mark, I think, is a liberal, not ideologically, but one of those passive absorption of ideology kind of liberals. If that makes sense. I've kind of explained this before, where he's just like, everybody, you know, everybody's just a product of their environment, and the environment that people usually grow up in is the liberalism environment. So that's kind of what Mark is on right now. So that shapes his view of like a lot of shit. Funnily enough, I think Mark would actually have done well to keep working with Cecil, right? Cecil's like actually less of a liberal than Mark. Because Cecil's like, look, do you want to just put these guys in a box? Or do you want them to actually fix the fucking damage that they did to society, right? Like, why not put them to work here where I can supervise them and they can't hurt anybody? You know? And then they can like learn to be functional human beings again. And then Invincible's like, what? That's fucked up. Because they killed people, therefore go to jail, go directly to jail, do not collect $200, you will never see the light of day again, something. Yeah. Anyways, I guess this has turned into the stream where I alternatively back and forth talk about Invincible, and then also talk about the current like stock market crash and also global market crash. I feel like Cecil could have done more to convince him, but you know, the story said they had like tracking. What caller? What? Yeah, I mean, I do feel like Cecil he could have definitely made the argument better, right? Like, I was looking at that and be like, look, Cecil, you gotta be better at de-escalating here, you know? Yeah, his ass is not debate pilled. He should, you know what he should have done? He should have fucking busted out the Coconut Island analogy. It's like, okay, let's say you are on a plane and that plane crash lands on an island, all right? Hush was in the place of Cecil. No, I cannot imagine that actually. And I don't think I particularly want to either. Almost got him. I got somebody. Make it really fun. It would make it so funny. That guy smuggling a bullet up to third place. Oh, and he dodged a shock? What a G. But now he's gonna get hit with the best item in the game. Again, I don't know why I have the like habit of playing this dangerous game, driving like right next to somebody who's got a star, and then like going the same fucking speed as them or some shit. Got him. I hope he doesn't get bumped off, but it's possible that they do. It looks like they didn't, so that's good. Fucking debates Omni-Man. Yeah. Look, if ever, okay, if there was any confrontation that could have been potentially solved with like a conversation, it would have been the one with Anissa. Anissa find invincible for the entire planet? I don't fucking know. She probably just flew around a bunch. And then it was like, oh, there he is. Like, oh, what does he look like? He looks like Nolan, but without the mustache. Okay, got it. That is a good question, though. I don't know exactly how. That's the simplest and funniest way that I can imagine, though, that she just kind of brute forces it. She's, like, flying around a bunch, like, fuck, where is he? And then, like, finally she sees, like, oh, dude, that guy looks exactly like Nolan, except he's younger and doesn't have a mustache. Great, that must be him. News Nation. God, get a load of these headlines, dude. Could have gone so ugly if somebody like just happened to look like Invincible. That could have. News Nation. What is Black Monday and why do Wall Street experts fear another? How about God, I hate fucking journalism in the United States because like they're such pussies with their framing, dude. It's always got to be like a question. Nobody can ever fucking express any sort of statement or opinion ever, even if it's the like objectively the opinion of the news outlet. Like it fucking access journalism is a fucking plague on journalism. Like, and it's like an essential part. Journalism is an essential part of a fucking functioning media economy, but America does such a goddamn disservice to it. I'm sure you've seen, like, European news headlines aren't like this. How about this? Instead of, what was Black Monday, and why do Wall Streeters fear it's gonna happen again? Right fucking, like, hey, remember, you know, Black Monday, in 1929. Here's why Wall Street fears another Great Depression. Just say that, because that's what it is. Like, bury the lead about, like, you're talking about Great Depression-esque circumstances, right? You gotta be fucking willing to, like, actually say something for goddamn once, dude. God, I get in a fucking frustrated fit and I can't drive anymore, but Jesus. Yeah, they literally just don't want people to panic, is it. And, like, and that's because they're owned by people who are also, like, part of this house of cards and don't want it to collapse, right? Did I hit somebody with that in midair? Huh. 3 for 3, sand hop. Let's go. No! I had the wrong angle, I think. Again, I'll refer back to, like, when Trump was saying that the media is the enemy of the people, he was cooking. But he was not... He did not realize what he was cooking when he said that shit. Wait, Black Monday was these? No, Black Monday was 1929. Oh, of course. It's even worse than I thought. Of course they have to be dishonest and compare it, instead of to the Great Depression, compare it to 1987. Which was like chump change compared to what this is going to be. Of course they have to undersell it. Jesus. God, Business Insider has a better headline than this. The bull market is dead. What investing pros are saying after a historic 2-day stock market crash. Like, this is better framing. Like, the bull market is dead. Like, yeah, guys, it's fucking Jover, right? Like, that needs to be your framing on this. Yeah, make the headline, the economy is fucked, we're all fucked. You know? Yeah, look, here, if by comparison, the Times of India has, like, like, better framing of this as well. Times of India, it, like, obviously has its own biases and stuff, but it's not an American news outlet, which is important from the perspective of, like, covering American newsworthy events. The title that they have reads, global stock markets tumble amid tariff war. Japan, China, and India hit hard. 10 things to know. Right? Like, that's a way better headline than whatever the fuck News Nation had cooking when they wrote that shit. You know, like, oh yeah, the markets are tumbling, they're fucked, you know, there's a tariff war, and, like, all the biggest countries are getting hit really hard by this. It feels like they're trying to frame it in a very professional way, but it doesn't really feel like they're underselling it. At least to me, it doesn't. Not by major margins, anyway. Like, you could say that, like, well, you know, tumble even might be a little bit mild of a descriptor for what's happening right now, but they're not saying, like, why are people afraid right now? I wonder what could this mean for the economy? These are, you know, a little bit uncertain times, you know, or something like that. It is just the constant underselling of this shit is how the American news media does this whole lies of omission type shit. Like I said, they're too cowardly to, like, ever express an actual, like, stance on anything. You know, like, contrary to what, like, journalists think, it's not a crime to be wrong about something sometimes. If you have all the facts on the table and you're like, well, the circumstances available point to this. And you can just say that. Haven't the tariffs not even happened yet? The second wave, at least? No, they kick in today. I think. Here, hold on. Second wave tariffs. April? Let's see. Yeah, takes effect on April 5th, 2025 at 12:01 a.m. EDT. The tariffs have been in effect for 2 days. The reason he put them into effect right after the stock market closed on Friday, so that there would be a buffer period, so they have a little bit of time to grease the wheels of the media machine over the weekend before the stock market opened this morning. And that's why Mach Bike is better on custom tracks. You can take turns like that. Seriously, I will take that shit to the grave. I've yet to see compelling evidence to indicate that Flame Runner is better for online, especially on custom tracks. Heard one of this not political dad told them we're not doing good financially anymore. Yeah, a lot of people, this is one of the consequences of privatization, is that now basically everybody's fate is tied to the stock market. I've slowed down because I thought that explosion might hit him when he was ahead of me, but I guess not. There might be a little bit of lag. You know, like, pensions aren't a thing in America. You have either a 401k or a 403b, I think. And like, both of those are dependent on the stock market. You know? So, yeah, the stock market crashing, even though, like, it's mostly shareholders, is also going to affect, like, your regular Joes. Luckily, my money's in liquid cash, not literally liquid. That's good. Yeah, if you have the fucking money sitting under a mattress, you're looking good right now. You know? You could argue, if you choose one thing to argue Hassan with, Hassan? What would it be? I don't know. Like a conversation about something where we disagree. I don't know. I mean, probably the only place where we would substantially disagree on stuff is, like, foreign affairs, probably. Particularly with, like, Ukraine. I think you could pick just about any other issue out of a hat and we'd probably agree on all of it. And even like some of Hassan's arguments on Ukraine I'm sympathetic towards, like the fact that the United States was going to put Ukraine potentially in a debt trap after supporting them. Why do some people think China's... Oh, yeah, I mean, that too. That didn't... I don't know why. That got blocked out of my brain. But yes, China would be another thing. Some people think China's perfect. It's because there's a very natural want on the part of a lot of people to believe that, like, there could be something better than America, because America was the top dog for the longest time, and China was, like, an easy alternative to that. It's basically just, like, people want to see China as something better than America, because they want to believe that better shit is possible, and better shit is possible, but, like, they sort of project that onto China, and China was, well, at least for a while, China was really not better than America in a lot of ways, but now it seems like that picture is changing. And as for the people that think, like, China's perfect or whatever, it's just, like, you know, I don't know. It's the same thing that kind of reverberates, like what I described. It reverberates enough times, you start, like, doubling up and doubling down on certain points, and you believe that, like, China's a worker's paradise or some shit, you know? And again, it's one of those things where I would disagree, and I think he's wrong, but, like, I wouldn't say that he's, like, being dishonest or anything. Trying to convince me that censorship is good? Yeah. Yeah, that's usually, like, the kind of censorship they're defending there is typically not good. Like, it loops around into, like, some even conservative talking points about what kind of media should or shouldn't be allowed. Which is bad, I think. But yeah, I guess if there's one thing I could pick out of a hat to, like, talk with Hassan about that, like, we would disagree on, because otherwise we'd just be like, yes, absolutely, I agree, you know. It would probably be either China or Ukraine. Like, don't argue with the state, literally. That part is a little bit weird, how some people become, like, they start engaging in what I might call simpery of the state when like China gets involved. Ah, not quite. My X-Men Terraform? True. News. Hindustan Times. Black Monday to .com bubble. 5 worst stock market crashes in history. Or 5 worst U.S. stock market crashes in history. I don't know why my brain skipped over the U.S. there. You know, main character syndrome. You got me. It's kind of racist. They call it Black Monday. No, it's just like... No, the fact that they call it Black Monday has nothing to do with, like, black people as a race or whatever. It's about, like, oh, wow, it's, like, a dark day in history. Black Monday. Fucking scribbled in black marker or something. Black rain clouds. I don't know. It's like it's dark. Like, all the lights went out. Shit. All the hope for the future is, like, gone. Black Monday. Watch me front run Baby Park. It's not going to happen, but it'd be really funny if it did. You can take first. I'm going to hang on to this mushroom. Yeah, the Trump administration thus far has just been like, okay, what went wrong today? Like, what fucking catastrophically occurred that will send society into potentially a death spiral this time, you know? Why, yes, I will take first place. Thank you very much. Damn. Lucky banana placement there. No. Dang. Did I get him? Ah, not quite. One day I'll wake up, the city's on fire, and I should be like, oh, I thought I should have thought of that earlier. If you were in LA, you already had that experience. You had that in January. For a lot of people, they've already had that. No, if anything, the cities aren't going to be on fire unless the government rolls in the ICE agents and the military and sets it on fire. You know, or does the thing with LA where there's like a natural wildfire and they're like, yeah, we'll just not send money to help you guys because I don't know, there are Democrats in that city. I don't know. Once America collapses, other countries are going to find America's super advanced weapons be like aliens. True. Yeah, America has some insane shit stored in like top secret bunkers and whatever for like weapons development and stuff. You know, the Pentagon does do shit with that money extremely inefficiently, but they do spend that money on stuff. It's just not stuff that really helps anybody. There's like, how much shit can we blow up for $50 billion? And then they like spend $50 billion or more on that. And they're like, all right, this is so advanced, we literally can't tell anybody else about it. Time to hide it away forever. You're like, this is too advanced to be made by humans as aliens. So the conspiracists no doubt will say that because like, I mean, one of the secret installations of the US military is literally Area 51. There are other areas with different numbers, and they guard a bunch of, like, top-secret shit. But, you know, there's one that everybody knows about, and it's Area 51, and everybody's like, oh my god, aliens! Oh, hit somebody with that? That's kind of crazy. I'm probably lagging all over these people's screens. I'm sorry to anybody who's currently being subjected to me having like a potentially not great internet connection. Remember when Donald Trump leaked that too good picture from space? I think I know what you're talking about, but there's been so much that I don't really remember what it is. Holy. What, he nailed that? That's insane that he got that on a cart. Nice pow, wow. Oh, dude, Spartacus is in the room. Too perfect for modern tech. Oh, yeah. It was like, the image quality was so good that it was like, had to be some sort of top secret CIA shit that he, like, leaked accidentally. I think I know what you're talking about. Again, I don't remember what the picture was of, like what picture particularly they were talking about, but yeah. Some random base? Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Pakistan stock market crash. Wow, Times of India is reporting this crash is affecting other countries too. Which makes sense, I guess. You know, one thing about the stock market is that a lot of these companies are, you know, they are internationally relevant. The market crash in the United States also affects other countries. We live in a global society. That's true. Joker is globalist, in fact. You know, this is a global Joker moment. I think this is actually going to be my last race. I'm running out of shit to say and other ways to say the same thing, which is like, wow, these tariffs were a horrible idea that everybody saw coming, and the people who were like, I didn't see this coming, only didn't see it because they pretended not to see it and like imagined that Trump was going to do something else. Every single economist knew this was coming. We all knew exactly how bad it was going to be as well. And they sold people on it just enough to manufacture the political capital to actually go through with the tariffs, and now everything is going to get worse everywhere for everyone for several decades, until circumstances are dire enough that the conditions are right for an FDR-esque figure to rise from the ashes and deliver the fucking New Deal 2 electric boogaloo. This time we get rid of capitalism for real, and the honestly, what we want to happen is for those conditions to be reached, and we don't want them to like pump the brakes 90% of the way there, because if that happens, then we don't get the good ending. That's what's up. And I spent like an hour and a half trying to communicate that, but you know, ultimately I gotta just say it. YouTube was trying to give it to me a couple days ago. Stop thinking about problems, start thinking, like, go think about food. Yeah. I mean, social media is a part of that consent manufacturing apparatus. That's the case. Why are Republicans going straight in that direction? Because fascists are incompetent and they're incapable of reading the material landscape. Like I said, there are only a few billionaires that are competent enough to know that they're playing the dialectical game against the working class, right? Most Republicans, in fact, you know, the Trump administration, are not competent enough to see that. All they see is an opportunity for a rug pull for them and their donors, and particularly for that small class of people. And they have little to no regard for how angry it's going to make people. And the potential political consequences that can come of that. That's why Republicans don't want to do the town halls. They literally don't believe in a form of society where people have any sort of ability to direct politics. But unfortunately for them, no such form of society exists. Even in the most dictatorial societies on Earth that have ever existed, currently exist, or will exist, governments and politicians have to contend with the will of the people as like a political bloc. And, you know, they especially run the risk of running afoul of that when they are gigantic morons, as they frequently are. You know? That's why there's no such thing as, like, a competent dictatorship. Oh, shock dodge. The very end. Very nice. The dictators from Invincible. Small group of elites. Yeah. That's why Republicans are completely on board with us going in that direction. They're dishonest. They don't give a shit. They, you know, they're engaging in the, like, the quid pro quo bullshit, whether it's with Trump or the donors or whoever else. Yeah. Basically, what I'm saying is, for decades we lived in the era of nothing ever happens. And that era has finally come to an end, because things are now, in fact, happening. And we don't want to go back to the era where nothing ever happens, because that yielded this fucking disaster. So, with that said, yeah, the story has decided to continue. Cody Schwab is playing Melee. Whose was this? Is that Unlearning Economics? No, that's just a different bald guy. Why did I think that? I don't know, the lighting isn't great. That's my excuse. All white people look the same. Something, something. Shoutouts to Unlearning Economics. Great YouTube channel. Bloody Market Monday. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna rate Hassan. So all of them look the same, true. Okay. Wait, no, cancel. Actually, you guys got enough of the fucking political analysis from me. I'm the politics guy. I don't need to be rating another politics. Let's raid Cody Schwab. There we go. Raid Cody Schwab. Enjoy some Melee now that you've heard me talk about Orange Monday and how this is Black Monday 2 or 3 even, depending on, I guess, if The one in 1929 was called Black Monday, and then the 1987 and the dot-com bubble and the blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean. All right. Bye.